great to see you all, and we'll leave the call open. Think there's a few more people who's going to join. And really good to see you all here. Thank you so much for taking this the time this Sunday evening. Great to see a lot of familiar faces, and really good to see some faces that I haven't seen before, and that's always a good sign. So my name is Jesper, and myself and Beatrice and Hales were and the team who's hosting tonight, and yeah, Beatrice will take turns in leading on sharing verbally where we're at together with you all. So we're just gonna get started here. Just one moment. All right, and we are recording as there were several people who couldn't join but who wants to watch. So feel free, if you don't want to be in the recording, to either write a question or a comment in the chat, or ask to pause if there's something you want to share. So let's start. Yes. So there we go. So, like I said, I'm Jesper. I'm joining in from Norway, and I'm really excited to be here. And I've been involved with Extinction Rebellion and the A22 network through Stop Oljeletingen and other organizations. And I am here because I had a really incredible grandmother who was just and my grandmother's sister, who were really so heartfelt people, and they really inspired me to look at what's happening in the world and really come with both love and commitment to show up in a good way. And secondly, I want to just say that I'm here because I have a 4-year-old daughter, and who is going to be growing up in this world. And I'm just wanting, yeah, I want the best for everyone, and just it's very that through the love of my daughter, that's really how I'm finding the courage to continue on and to do it with love and commitment and perseverance. So we are going to be sharing about collaborative and strategic leadership and the program that we have upcoming. And so just to start off, we all know what's happening. I think all of us here are staying attuned to what's happening in the world and having our hand on the pulse. And it's really heartbreaking to see a lot of what's going on in Palestine, in many parts of the world, and what's happening with the climate chaos, the rise of authoritarianism, the deep and ever deepening inequality, which is leading many people to not having hope, and to just kind of shield themselves and try to forget about what's happening around us. And since the fall of viable alternatives on a more international scale, it's very easy to just turn inwards and be stripped of the hope that we need to go forward. But as we see it, there is hope and there is a tradition. And what we want to do is to gather the teachers and the peers to make this happen. And from where we're coming from, in a simplified way, of course, there was in 2016, building on the Otpor movement in Serbia in the late 1990s and early 2000s. which led to the Momentum Training Institute in the US being set up, which spawned, among other things, the Sunrise Movement, and giving new life and blood to a training based and way to engage. And then later on, there has been series of uprisings and mass demonstrations with the Fridays for Future, with Extinction Rebellion, with the Animal Rebellion, and then in late 2021, the A22 network, which most but not all are probably familiar here, which is the Just Stop Oil, the last generation across many different countries, about 10 countries in total. And then since 2023, how we see it, there has been a consolidation phase of what have we learned, what has worked well and what hasn't worked well in what we've been doing with Extinction Rebellion for me and the team and A22. And then connecting with the movement elders such as Paul Engler, who wrote This is an Uprising, and Ivan Marovic, who is one of the key people in the Otpor movement in Serbia, who has joined us to be advisors and mentors. And it was especially these two people who really seeded the start of Resilient Uprising. And for me, it's captured in this phrase about we need to root down if we're going to rise up, if we want to have good things happening. So we're going to go straight into breakouts for 15 minutes, 3 or 4 people each. And we're just going to take a round to divide the time amongst each other to share our name, our country of residence, if we have an organizational belonging, and what role we have in the organization. And this is going to be posted by Beatrice in the chat. And to reflect on what has been working well in the last couple of years and what are the challenges. And this is just to have at the top of your mind. There's nothing, just to the first associations that come to you. And what are the challenges for working strategically? What are the associations that comes up to you? So great. For those who are back, if you want to put in the chat just a few words on what reflections from your breakout rooms, that would be great to get a sense for where it's at. All right, everybody's back. So I'd love to, if one or several people from the rooms can just put in a few bullet points on some of the, if it's what's working well or some of the challenges, that would be really good. So we get some empirics on some of where it's at in your organizations, and we'll use that continuously to inform what we are offering. Great. And as people are doing that, I'm just gonna continue on. So where is this training coming from? Who are we, and why did we choose to start this Resilient Uprising and the trainings that we're offering? So all of us at various points, we got involved with the Extinction Rebellion, which was many people who hadn't been involved before did so. So that was very good in many ways. And through that, several of us have gotten involved into late 2021 with what came to be the A22 network, which is about 10 campaigns the first year, who is doing a similar model on how to do nonviolent direct action campaigns to build the momentum around key topics for moving ahead climate legislation. And then in 2023 and onwards, a lot of the members in our team started doing trainings, intensives, and eventually started really being in mentorship relationship with people from past generations of movements. And myself, I got involved with Marshall Gans who is one of the gurus, as they say, in grassroots mobilizing from the US. And he has an online course via Harvard University, which is called the Leadership Organizing Action Leading Change, which was for me a really key introduction to the tradition that is accessible and that has been passed on through time. And then after that, later in 2023, Paul Engler, who is one of the authors of This is an Uprising, which is a foundational book for people doing nonviolent direct action, momentum-driven organizing. And here's me and Michele, another team member. And he eventually created this SWOT analysis. And if you can post it in the chat, Beatrice, that would be great. Which the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats for the A22 network. And one of the findings that he put there is that there has been an under-fear rising and lack of network level trainings and support in the A22 network at that time. And onwards from that, in early 2024, Ivan Marovic, who I mentioned earlier, we managed to got him involved, and he's also the mentor of Paul Engler. And we had a face-to-face retreat with about 10 people in the summer of 2024, and that's been really, really so supportive. And having somebody who has done a lot of campaigns that has had a significant impact, being able to speak about what we're going on and to support us in how to move forward. And then following from that, in 2024 and 2025, most of the members in our team have done the 6 weeks training with Sophia and Randall at Power Labs, which is called We Are a Nerdy Study Group, which is really a good way, which is scientifically based on how do we actually organize teams and people. So it's been a key part for us. And then overall, we've gotten into more of a mentorship relationship and having advisors with Ivan, with Maggie, with Margie, and Dan, who is here tonight, who will speak quite soon, and then Roger, which is for me really key on like if we don't look at and are relating both to what other contemporary organizations have done and the previous ones who have invested decades of their life into this work, then we're not going to be able to evolve and move as quickly as we need, or sometimes maybe we need to move slower, but doing the right thing at the right time. So what we want to work on training. So what have in our field in Extinction Rebellion and in the A22, what's the current status of trainings? So as we see it, there are a lot of good staple trainings happening in many other projects, the nonviolent direct action trainings, being able to train spokespeople to speak to the press, doing basic meeting facilitation, and then with a few projects have been doing more advanced trainings for coordinators, for instance. But for most of them, there are some important gaps that we haven't really had any trainings within our network to be really clear on and to be able to understand what we're doing, how it's working, and to be able to move forward in a good way. And that's with leadership, being able to onboard new core team members when existing core team members leave. That's been a quite difficult process for most campaigns. how we build capacity across our organization, not just trying to get to do actions or the outwards facing activity, but how do we actually build more capacity? And if we don't, then we're not going to be moving forward in a good way. And how can we do the vision work and the strategic analysis to actually engage with our circumstances that we're in a good way? So that's what we want to do. So to summarize, what we really need at this time and for the decades ahead is healthy and strong organizations. And what we're going to be covering in the next 13 months is building competency in supportive facilitation, collaborative leadership. How do we create decisions where we're really moving with the group and integrating um, the different perspectives? How do we work with strategic vision so we can really make sustainable and effective ways of working? Because if we don't, what we're trying to do is not going to be over in a short amount of time. We're going to be needing to work on this for a longer time. So one of the key practices, as we see it, is also being able to summarize what is it that we're working on. And one of them is to have a succinct purpose of our team and with all the different teams in one's organization. So for us, the Resilient Uprising team is here to foster the growth of a strong, deeply connected and resilient community of leaders who are disrupting the status quo. And we want to do this through providing high quality trainings to organize ruptures against the status quo. We want to create peer-to-peer spaces for leaders to celebrate, support each other, build relationships. And we want to enable mentorship between leaders and experience the present and past generations of trainers. So we can, and this is already what the authoritarian forces are doing, for instance, with the Atlas Network, which is a global coordination around supporting their agenda. So, and we don't have the equivalent of that, and we really need to be working in a good way together. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to move forward in a good way. So what we want to do all of this is to nourish existing organizations that have an explicit division of responsibility. So meaning that have principles, have statutes, have clear ways of working, and also having progressive values. So are looking a bit further ahead, what we want to do over time. In the next 10 years, we want to create a space where people who are working with workers, youth, immigrants, climate defenders, community builders, where there's so much commonalities in what we do, how to build grassroots power, how to engage people on a voluntary basis, how to create good narratives, how we create a good leadership culture where people are self-propelling, but still sticking to kind of what the purpose of the organization is. And yeah, so we can have a community that resists the isolation and the pressures through gatherings, mentorship, and mutual support. So yeah, the last point, and then I'm gonna give over to Dan, is what we've done in the spring, which was we started the leadership program in March, and we had sessions every other Sunday for until July. Which was 90 minutes and then some optional joining in. And what we're doing now is a continuation of that, but focusing on residential retreats. So we had these sessions on our tab with a lot of good trainers. and we have quite a lot of people joining from various countries, many people registering and joining, and about 180 joining more than once. Um, and yeah, so I'll just share this. So what we want to work on in the next couple of years is collaborative and strategic leadership. We also see there are other key topics, but that we won't be starting on as of now, which is the ecology of movements. How do we relate between different organizations and draw synergy on each other's work? Because the change we need is bigger than any one organization. How do we run campaigns in direct action and popular assemblies? How do we craft the grand narrative to really to speak to people outside of our usual cohort? And how do we really build healthy and resilient teams? So the last slide, and then I'll give over to Dan, is the collaborative and strategic leadership is really about that we see that the political and environmental conditions are shifting quite rapidly. So being able to reassess where we're at and re-strategize is really key. And through this, we want to focus on leadership development through facilitation and collaborative and strategic leadership. And this was in a large degree also seeded by Dan in a conversation we had in May this year. So I'll give over to Dan and then hear from, and for those who don't are not familiar with Dan, Dan has been one of the co-founders of Animal Rebellion in the UK, turned into Animal Rising, and who has been doing a lot of really good work and that I'm very happy to be drawing on in what we're doing now. So over to you, Dan.
Everyone, and thank you, Jesper. Yeah, just maybe a couple more words, just to introduce myself. So, yeah, I'm Dan. Animal Rebellion, going on to Animal Rising, was, I guess, a project that was born out of several years of research, um, which was originally, for me personally, part of a organization called Radical Think Tank, which I started up with Roger Hallam, which was me basically following Roger around in those days because I was a very new and fresh activist. But we were doing a lot of research about how to build social movements, and a lot of the design for Extinction Rebellion emerged out of the research that was happening within that space, as well as the Rising Up space, which was like a parallel network. Um, I then went and did the same thing again, very much focused on the animal movement in an organization called Animal Think Tank. All of the things that Jesper's referenced, like the Marshall Gans stuff, the Nerdy Movement Study Group, um, and like the Ivan Marovich, who I encountered at the International Center for Nonviolent Conflict out of Rutgers University. All of these things were really informative of the then design work that went into creating Animal Rebellion in the first place. So I just want to give a full ringing endorsement into the process that is happening here. And in my experience, like this is where the big movements come from. They come from people sitting down and doing the hard graft of study, to learn what's happened before, to speak to the elders, and then to go on and design the things. It's very rare that they splash up out of nowhere. Um, it's yeah, they're always several years in the making. Um, for instance, I met Roger in 2015, and Extinction Rebellion was born in 2018. Um, so there's always a long run up to these things. Uh, so just yeah, Resilient Uprising are awesome. I love them. Thank you for doing what you do. Um, and just as well, I'll say that the project of elevating people into becoming leaders, I think is so critical. Jesper's right. It's been missed by our movements. The real high-level leadership development. It's often happened through practice of people joining core teams and then working alongside people, and the learnings happen that way, and through mentorship and just like close collaboration. But to have something really systematized, I think, is really, really important as well. Um, and the effective long-term movements built this infrastructure. Like I remember reading something about Gandhi, and like they had within the Indian independence movement, they kind of had structured it so they had like all these different leadership teams ready to step in and take over running the movement if like one layer of the leadership got cut out. There was like, and then there was this layer, and then there was that layer, and they really built in deep leadership and training through, I mean, they went even more in depth. They set up the ashrams where people went and lived and immersed themselves and spent years kind of embedding themselves into these practices. But this is a good start. We can get to the ashrams later on, I guess. Um, and strategic facilitation. Um, I used to joke with a friend of mine who uh, I learned for strategic facilitation from a guy who I set up Animal Think Tank with back in 2017. And he had been facilitating for like 20 years, high level corporate and government facilitation. Um, and he was just brilliant. The way that he could bring groups together. His name is Mark Westcombe. Um, the way that he could uh, just bring people together, facilitate very high level strategic conversations in ways that were insightful, enlightening, brought people together, and led to key decisions that led to very complicated and complex series of actions was just incredible. And I used to joke with him that he should run a workshop called the revelation the revolution should be or the revolution will be facilitated, because it is the most important skill, I think, for anyone in a leadership position to have to be able to do this. Because without it, you're kind of just reliant on someone being a leader, doing hierarchical decision making and telling people what to do. But it's through strategic facilitation that you're able to really bring people along with you, take them through the thought processes in a very structured way, to assess a problem from the point of like what's the context that we're operating in, so what's the theory of change, how do we work to do this, what's the strategies that we're going to develop, what's the narrative and messaging framework that we're going to utilize to put forward our message, what's the campaign designs that we're going to do, how do we design the organizational structures to facilitate all of these big ideas and make sure they can be implemented successfully, and what kind of a culture do we want to be building within our teams and within our movements. Like these are all really big conversations that strategic facilitation allows you to have with your core leadership team to build a shared understanding, um, and to be able to move forward in a very highly coordinated and highly effective way, and to keep on routinely checking in and doing that work as you're continuously re-strategizing as well, due to the very fast-paced and changing natures that we're in. Um, so there's loads of skills and loads of knowledge people need to be leading and designing the social movements of tomorrow, and I just think that this one's really critical. It's not the be-all and end-all, but it's just part of the smorgasbord of important things that people need to know. Um, and I kind of covered a lot of what I was going to say in that. I surprised myself. Um, yeah, so I think that the practice of strategic facilitation, it's not only in being able to bring people along with you, but it's also, it provides you the tools and skills to really think through these problems. So I think what's really useful is the like never-ending series of frameworks that are available to assess the problems that we're trying to face. So for me, I use the processes when I'm individually sitting down and strategizing and designing projects. Um, like for instance, like a few years ago, I designed the plant-based universities campaign, which is calling for plant-based transition in universities and it's kind of now set up across Europe. And so I designed that just pen to paper and wrote it down, but I went through those same processes personally, as at times when I've taken groups through processes. Like in the Animal Rebellion 2022, we kind of launched after COVID with our we aimed to stop the supply of dairy. Um, and we were going and disrupting dairy distribution centers in, I think it was September 2022, across the UK. And the same set of processes I did then with the group and facilitating the group as what I'd done pen to paper. So I think it's really good whether you're sitting down to your own thoughts or yeah, working in that collaborative fashion. Uh, And so basically, like I would highly encourage people to sign up to what Resilient Uprising are offering with this course. The person running it is a guy called Jeroen, and he's probably with the team, but I don't know the team. But I know Jeroen because I met him in 2017 in a training course being run by ULEX, which is a European training provider, and does some of the best activist training, I think. In at least Europe that I've encountered. Their training courses are very well facilitated. And Jeroen really came up through that world. Um, and he um, has learned and embodied the very comprehensive frameworks of training that are really good at engaging you at the intellectual level, at the practical level, at the like embodiment level. So you can really take through that knowledge in all of these different domains and all of these different ways. And when I met him, I think he was one of the most impressive people that I've come across in social movements, or even over the last 10 years, really. He was just like highly strategic, highly impressive, was at the time running a very effective movement organization in Belgium, working on decolonization issues. I haven't kept in touch with him, so I don't know what he's done since then, but I'm sure it's been great. But just to say, like, it's a really good trainer who's going to lead you through this course. And he was someone who I personally learned a lot about strategic facilitation processes when I spent 2 weeks with him on a residential course. So just like a ringing endorsement for Jeroen, and again, well done to the Resilient Uprising team for finding him because I didn't suggest him. They just went and found him. And then I was like, oh, I know that guy. He's awesome. Um, so, I mean, I think that's really all that I say. My job in this course is just to try and encourage you that this is an important thing to learn. Um, and I hope that my words have done that even a little bit. Um, and I'll pass back over to Jesper to continue.
Thank you so much, Dan. Really good to have you here, and yeah, thank you for bringing all of that together in your lived experience and then how it's happened over time. So yeah, it's just for me, the summary of what you shared, Dan, is like there is a craft to doing these what seems to be impossible feats, and what we are, many of us here on the call, maybe all of us, are like wanting to be part of happening. There is a craft to it. It's not having a magic wand and then having a stroke, only strokes of luck, but and this is what we want to create. Um, all right. So with that, we're going to go into what is the training program for the next 13 months. So between now, starting having online sessions uh, and having the first residential in January until November next year, this is going to be the training program. So, like Dan said, the strategic leadership piece of this program is going to be led by Jerome, who I'm going to present a bit further. And we when we started this process, we also got in touch with Roni, who is here on the call, who has also I will present a bit further, and we started speaking about the need for strategic facilitation, strategic leadership. And with the long years of experience, Roni pointed out that in order to really do that well, then we need to have supportive facilitation. If we can't really have the bread and butter of the meetings that many of our organizations have weekly, and some of us have more than that, if that is not really well sustained, then we will not be able to utilize that strategic capacity. And also the collaborative leadership. How do we create a culture where people are really feeling heard and are part and feel ownership of the processes and the aims that we're trying to achieve? So it's with Roni and Melissa are going to lead us through that piece, and then Jero and some other trainers will be leading on the the strategic piece. So what are the different ways of learning? So bringing back here Paul, who has been an advisor with us since 2023. The main ways of learning um, is usually learning by doing. And for most people, it stays with this, and especially within grassroots organizing and activism in general, there's a strong emphasis that people are just like, we just need to get on with the things and just learn and reflect on that, and only mainly do that, because usually there isn't that much trainings and pathways on how we can really learn from previous traditions other than watching documentaries and reading books. But importantly, it's also about the organizations that do well. They also engage a lot with trainings, which with Extinction Rebellion and A22 has ramped up that significantly from what it used to be before Extinction Rebellion and A22. And we want to complement the pieces of that hasn't been giving that much emphasis. And then also having the peer support where people can support each other. For myself, meeting people from across Europe at face-to-face gatherings throughout the years has been immensely supportive when there's been challenges, heavy challenges in the organizations that I've been part of running. Then having those, being able to speak to Beatrice or to Angelo, who is here on the call, for instance, or Nikoko, has been immensely valuable. So there are different levels of the trainings can be given. And we are focusing on the people who are organizers. So people who this upcoming training is for people who have a year or more with ongoing work in organizations. And what we want to do is to take those organizers into a journey into facilitation and strategy. And then there are other levels where people are maybe a supporter, they haven't been involved in grassroots organizations and they want to be more educated before they get involved, and that's great. But that's not the level that we're catering for. And also the people who have been more on the ground, handing out leaflets, organizing guards during demos, and on that level, and who want to have a pathway to be able to becoming an organizer, and that's really important. And that is usually with the when we spoke about this, Ivan Marovic said that this level should be within the organizations because it needs to be specific to the needs of the organization. It's not going to be on an international level in general. So this is where we are aiming our trainings. So the intended outcomes for this training program is to take people who, two groups of people, both people who are local or national organizers, and that they become trained facilitators, so that the meetings happening across the organizations are really done well, and there is a good collaborative leadership culture. And the people who in the organizations have the lead on facilitation and training and leadership culture, that they are present and are able to reflect and being able to distribute and lead on distributing the ability of facilitation across the organizations, the organization that we're in. And in the same way, then for strategy, the people who are local or national organizers, maybe representatives, coordinators, they become trained in strategy, and the people who are now leading on strategy in organizations, they are able to distribute the ability to strategize. And so it's not just held in the core or in the center of organizations. And this is the research showing how important that is. So when there is actions and activities in Belgium, and instead of sending somebody from Brussels to go to Ghent to speak with the mayor, then you can have the people, the local group from Ghent, speaking with the mayor of Ghent, and then there's much more strength in the organization. So being a bit more specific, who is this training for? It's for organizations who are committed to speaking the truth about what's happening with the authoritarian, degeneration of society, groups who see the importance of training and that we need to build capacity. It's not just about doing actions and outwards facing activities, but we need to engage and build more capacity with the people coming into the organization. And also having a commitment to social justice and who have these explicit, outspoken ways of principles on how they operate. And that it's needs to be, we'll come back to that, it's both for people in the core or executive levels of the organization, and bringing with them local or national coordinators. So in terms of what the training will cover, in the last couple of weeks, I've been speaking to several organizations who are considering joining the training. And some of the questions that came up there is about specific situations that they are facing. That maybe it's that some people want to go through really thorough discussion on many of the topics, and other people are feeling that's not the place for them. They want to go swiftly into actions. So are we going to kind of have a training that is going to be specifically about this situation? And the endless kind of complexities if we're looking at the situations specifically. And then earlier this week, when we brought these to Roni, who is here on the call, and I think thank you so much, Roni. Your response was like, we need to start from a simplicity of how we are dealing with this, and then this core, the key competencies is key. So as facilitators, it could be about developing a culture of supportive facilitation. And some people want to go deeper, other people want to go into practicalities. So this is the key competency that we want to be conscious of and train up in. And having these kind of key competencies of telling supportive stories, where are we at, starting the meeting, painting these pictures and making it kind of come together. Working with the groups towards the shared purpose, being able to integrate and really listen to what people are coming with is some of the key competencies. And through those, focus on key competencies rather than on specific situations only, will bring those specific situations into the training. But what we are coming back to, what are the core competencies that we need to work on and go further in order to do what we do well. And this is really good because then it's managing that kind of complexity of what we're facing rather than being kind of overwhelmed by all of that. So
Jesper, may
yeah,
I
yes,
add a piece here?
Yes, of course. Thank you so much,
Hello,
Ronnie.
I'm Ronnie. Um, yeah, I want to clarify because I want to check that no one is hearing this as there will not be space to bring in specific situations. That the way that I hold this is that we don't need to agree about which situations we bring in, and that actually gives us more flexibility that anyone can bring in any situations that seem relevant for you. So if what's challenging in your organization is that you can't reach agreement about who is in the core team and who is not, or what's challenging in your organization is that it's not clear who makes decisions, or that people are not willing to follow those decisions, or that you have people experiencing a lot of burnout or disengaging, or that people keep interrupting each other in meetings, or they're not interrupting each other and somebody's just talking for a really long period of time. Any of those can be brought in, and we will just find the best skill or competency that we would suggest trying to engage with first to support changing that situation. And we'll be able to practice on that. And because we have people in small groups, everyone can choose what type of situations they want to work with for each of these skills. So instead of all of us needing to agree that we're going to specifically work on these 4 common situations, we're giving everyone the flexibility to be able to bring your real life challenges. And no matter what they are, we will be able to fold them into one of these skills.
Thank you so much, Ronnie, for which was a good example of stepping in and providing that clarity and working with that together. So thank you so much. So in terms of collaborative leadership, in a similar way, one of the challenges that I've heard in the end call is finishing in 25 minutes at 1:30. Thanks, Charlie. So one of the specific challenges that several people have spoken about is that people in the organization who are not in the core team or in the specific set roles don't want to take responsibility and are only want to doing a bare minimum in their roles, leaving the rest to the core team. So some of the key competencies in that could be how do we adopt and evolve the organizational design, and also how do we encourage leadership and self-responsibility culture that we can bring, and other ones are being able to predict the challenges ahead when you're going into action or going into an intensive work situation. There are certain challenges that come, and there are other challenges in the post kind of momentum phase to work on. How do we resolve challenging disagreements, and how do we create peer support networks? So see, here are some of the competencies that we could work on in the upcoming trainings. And in terms of strategic leadership, here's some words from Jeroen on what he sees are some of those about empowering the team to translate their aspirations into common visions and to make them into actionable goals. How do we supporting the team to go through a good and rigorous process about placing one's goals in the context of what's happening in society around them, being able to challenging making shortcuts and maybe the easy solutions that will be not good over time, creating alignment around those goals and common theory of change. And this is just to get a sense. Nobody needs to kind of read this in depth now, and of course you can in the recording, but this is just to get a sense of where the training is and where it's coming from. About the ability to use actions and campaigns to build power, to grow capacity, and to increase the resilience at the base of the organization. And to be able to be both steady and flexible, holding the group together, sticking to the plan, but also being flexible when there is specific events that changes a lot of the conditions in our society. So holding all of this together, the overall framework is can be seen through this Paulo Ferreiro approach, which was published in 1968, if I remember correctly, the pedagogy of the oppressed, which is that learning is rooted in dialogue, like what Roni was speaking about, looking at those specific challenges and then bringing them back to core competencies. And going unpacking this a bit more, that learning happens through dialogue, and it's not about that the participants are empty sheets of paper to just be filled on by the experts at the front of the room, but it's about learning together, that it's about that everybody comes with rich experiences. Everybody is strategizing each day in various ways, but we don't have a system and a way to understand what that is and to be able to have a direct relationship to that and engage others with that. But we do it all the time. And without reflection and then experience is only experience, but how can we turn what we have done in these years into knowledge so we can reflect on it together collectively, like Dan also spoke about earlier. This is what this kind of approach supports. So, and why is this relevant? Because we cannot change the world with the same logic that brought us where we are right now. That's very clear. So Roni, who is here, and Melissa, they are from the Integration Station Collective, have been has lots of experience with doing strategic facilitation from business, similar to what Dan shared about where he learned strategic facilitation from. So there is a lot of good training in that, and now Roni and Melissa are applying that in and anchoring that in nonviolent communication and convergent facilitation and enabling systemic change. And are currently working with people and groups and communities and organizations to really make that happen. And here's a short quote from one of the participants who has done a lot of work on facilitation that has learned so much more in this time than through many years. And a couple of weeks ago, we had a mini workshop with Roni and Melissa. And here's a short testimonial from Aldo in Italy, who has worked also for many years as a trainer. So he reflected afterwards that he really enjoyed how Roni turned a complex topic into a simple, focused presentation that gave him a real clarity and direction. The hands-on practice, especially being able to be facilitated himself during the role play or real play, reminded him on how important it is and strengthened his ability with this. And that with Roni's clear, specific feedback on what was working well and where there was room for improvement, was really supportive to him. So just to get a taste of this. And so here's Jeroen, and there will be another one or two trainers from his network who will be working on the strategic leadership. And he's been involved with grassroots organizing with the climate action camps in Belgium in the early 2000s, the decolonizing project that Dan mentioned, and also Palestinian solidarity groups. And as Dan mentioned, Labo in Belgium that has been doing a lot of good work. And he's also associated for close to 10 years with the ULEX training project in Catalonia, which is the major training center in Europe. And in the last few years, he's been training hundreds of activists in campaign strategy and leader for organizing. So I'll just go a bit quicker now at the end, so we have time for. I'm gonna soon hand over to Beatrice. And before that, so when we approached Jerome about the training and that we wanted to work on strategic leadership, then his feedback was like, in order to do a good strategic analysis and strategic leadership, then you need to have a good problem analysis, you need to have a good power analysis, and you need to feed that into vision work, and then you can have a good strategic analysis. So just as also a taste of the craft that he's bringing to this training. So here's the timeline. The residential retreat will be between the 12th and the 17th of January in the Netherlands. And then post that retreat, there will be a weekly session once a week for 6 weeks with the entire group, where there are wins, where there are challenges, and then being able to go into team coaching on supportive facilitation and collaborative leadership. And the focus for these residential retreats is really about deepening the learning that is best happening when you're doing it face to face, enabling and building those peer relationships and community, and engaging in the team coaching. And then in April or May, we haven't set the date yet. There's going to be another 5-day residential training with Jeroen and another trainer on strategic leadership. And then we're going to have a gathering in the summer for all the core teams who are participating in the program, and then a part 2 in next autumn, because opening these topics of both strategic facilitation, collaborative leadership, strategic leadership, we're opening this in these retreats and this program, but we need more time and to come together to do this in a good way, as Dan mentioned. So as we see it, the ideal participation is you have your team, and then you're sending at least 2 people, maybe 3 people to the first training block. And those needs to have one person who is in the core or executive part of the organization. So it's anchored at the center, or the people who are holding the culture. And then having another, preferably 2 or 3 other people from the organization joining the strategic leadership. So it's not packing all that kind of training and into the same people, because that's not so resilient, and it's not so easy to do 2 kind of university courses at the same time. It won't work. So that's what we're suggesting, and then having the whole team come end of next summer. So the upcoming training sessions that we have, we're going to be in a week and a half, and we're going to get the link in the chat for this, is with Jeroen, 2.5 hours. And then we're going to also have another mini workshop with Ronnie and Melissa on supportive facilitation in 2 weeks, roughly. And then a bit later, we're going to have another one. So please sign up for that, so you can get more familiar where it's at. So in terms of being able to go ahead with the training on time, we need to have at least 50% of the participant be fully confirmed in about 3 weeks. And then we need 100% of a minimum 20. If there's more, that's great. Fully confirmed by the 1st of December or earlier. So who's coming? So these are the teams that we're in one-on-one dialogue right now with, from Italy, Germany, Kenya, Norway, UK, Poland, Ghana, Switzerland, and Sweden. So without further ado, I'll pass over to you, Beatrice. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I will just give some logistical details. So what we will try to do is to use this method. I think that someone already knows it, and it's called gift economy. Ronnie, please integrate if something is missing. So the idea at the basis is that we would like to not think on capitalism terms. So choosing to share money within relationships that are based on needs instead of using fixed price, which does not mean that the training will be free, because gift economy means that someone is giving his or her time, materials, the training that was taken in the past, and so on. So it just means that we are all sharing the resources and the risks that are connected to the training. And when I say we, it means as participants, but also the trainers, but also the people that are hosting us, etc. So we are all working together to make the program sustainable and accessible. And another thing that I want to stress is that by this method, we are also allowing some other people or other projects to join with less money, for example. So even projects that in a world of scarcity could not join the program have the chance to do it because maybe other people or other projects are helping them because they consider that have more resources to give for the entire project and the entire participants. So it's not just a dynamic between the trainer and the trainee, but it's among the entire group. And I think that it's really important if we want this training to be shared among different countries that have maybe different levels of life, different economies, and so also the projects have different resources. If you can go on, Jesper, thank you. Okay, so this is more or less the money that needs to be spent according to the venue, accommodation, and food needs. We are calculating from 350 to 400 euros per participant. And considering the trainer's needs, so what Ronnie and Melissa need for themselves, we are considering from 250 to 450 euro per participants. So in total, it's about 600 to 900 euros per participant. We are not considering travel costs because we think that they may be covered by participants. But again, if we think about it in terms of gift economy, I think that we could be also able maybe to help other people and projects to cover their travel costs if we are available. So it's not, we shouldn't think about we need to reach 900 euros and it's enough, for example, or the minimum that we have to give is 600. It's not the idea at the basis, but it's to also share risks, because if we don't share the euros that are needed, then we will finish considering it as free, which is not, of course. Ronnie, if you want to integrate, please do it, and then I will go on.
I was quite happy with how you were sharing this, and I'm aware that we are close to the end of our scheduled time and that some people might have questions, so I want to leave space for that.
Okay, so finally, what we suggest you is to create a small crowdfunding campaign. So you can do that as an organization or as a team or as a person. It's you that can choose. But we think that it could be a good way and a good chance to reach money from your community, your friends, your relatives, or your organization or whatever. And we are creating a small kit that you can use to, as an example. So it gives you suggestions and instructions, and also, yeah, an example that you can follow. And yeah, it's something that comes mainly from last generation Italy. So please, if you have more efficient and effective ways to reach money through crowdfunding, please give us advice. And yeah, thank you.
Great, thank you. And Beatrice, would we be hearing from another person now?
Yeah, I think that it's Colin's turn, if you can speak.
Yeah, hello everyone. I hope you can get me.
We can hear you,
Okay.
Collins.
Yeah, thank you so much, and I'm very glad to have joined this meeting. My name is Collins Utindo Chieng. Basically, I'm a Kenyan, and I also live in Kenya. I'm the Resilient Uprising Coordinator here in Africa, and we have been working with Jesper and Beatrice and Michele. And for me, I'm seeing that we are moving towards the right direction. I'm also happy with that we are engaging, or the trainers that are engaging us as far as this leadership structure is concerned, and I'm very happy for that. So I just wanted to share a briefly on actually why as organizations from Africa actually why it's very important for us to attend this very important gathering and training. First, this training, from this training, we gonna gain exposure to international best practices in strategy and collaborative leadership. This will help us to improve on one operational efficiency, decision-making processes, and overall performance on nonviolent revolution actually. So that is also a great important of what we gonna get when we have this residential program. Then two, this program again is gonna help us to have networking opportunities. Since we are going to have experts and consultants from other organizations in our midst. This will lead to potential partnership and collaborations and knowledge sharing opportunities that will benefit us in the long run. Been presented here like Ronnie. Actually, from there, we have learned a lot. I think the last training that we had was conducted by Ronnie, and actually it was a very nice one. Then we have also been having Ivan Marovic from the last trainings, actually, and they are trainers that we would love to hear from them. Actually, we believe that when we are with them, actually physically, we are going to learn a lot of things from these trainers. And I've also seen that there is also a good plan where other trainers have been put pending, and they are also in the program. And we're gonna gain a lot of experience from them, and that will help us tremendously as far as organizing nonviolent methods of actually fighting climate change in Kenya and generally in the old world. The other thing is
Thank you so much, Collins. Thank you so much. We're coming to the end of the time. Thank you so much, Collins, for sharing. So since we're just 1 minute to go, then so the next steps are if you're ready to register, you can use the link and do that. If you are interested and want to engage more, we have the upcoming workshops, and just send us a message to schedule a one-on-one and get. We recommend to just start with the decentralized fundraising campaigns as soon as you know that you're likely or that you want to commit, and then you will have some weeks before we need the full commitment. So anyone who has questions, please stay on a few minutes, and I'll be here to do that. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming, and really appreciate that, and look forward to speaking more with all of you soon. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesper, and everyone.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Simon. Thank you, everyone.
Great to be here.
Thank you, everyone, and bye.